Hey all, this is O1 Joku and
Father Jericho the Jackass. Oh, and what fun times we get to talk about one of the best Clint Eastwood, one of the best Dirty Harry movies.
oh yeah, let me get us started on that again. If you guys saw yesterday, I put up my short singular review on that. Get it out. Well, Clint Eastwood collection again, as you guys see. But let me get that out again in case none of you have seen it. But the Deadpool right there, but also they have right there the Deadpool, the cover of the movie, because this is the collection packs. So not individual DVDs, but hey,
Yeah,
it's
not
good
the
enough.
Canadian Deadpool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, not Wade Wilson. We'll probably get to that at some point and talk about that good and bad. But no, the Deadpool before they even decided to do a Deadpool movie, the Deadpool.
Mm.
Because again, that is a thing people do is make lists of who they think are gonna die in the next couple of years or so. But anyway, you guys know my thoughts on that for the most part. I'll chime in here, but take it away, Jherick.
This has got to be right now probably my favorite Dirty Harry movie, and probably one of my more favorite Clint Eastwood films. I love that they kind of took on the idea of like the infant the what's the word the celebration of like mass murderers, the like when somebody goes on a killing spree and then all of a sudden they're popping off on social media.
Oh, the media, basically how
Yeah.
the media gets in people's face,
and,
interferes with crime scenes and whatnot.
and it's actually kind of nice to see, like, we get to see Clint Eastwood actually being respected by the police, only because he's got some good press behind him. He's making them. They think his antics are making the department look good, and now they want to pull a Steve Rogers. Is like, oh no, we want you to do this to promote the police department. Take you away from being useful on the streets and have you do this little performance or whatever.
One
Sell
like
some war bonds, Mr. Rogers.
One like I also said, it was because of Lou Gennaro, but they liked his thing about putting away Lou Gennaro, so they didn't want to say it. So before you continue, Jherick, I'll mention a quote that we liked that I didn't mention yesterday because I mentioned the famous quote, but he tells his lieutenant when he wants to keep it protected and protect the public image, well, Lieutenant, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
And it's kind of a neat thing. Now he gets another new partner, and I love that Dirty Harry Callahan himself is the first to say it. Is this one going to survive? Why would you do this to this kid? I love the fact that Clint Eastwood was way ahead of the game on that.
Yep, Al Quan probably minus Early Smith from Magnum Force, my second favorite partner that he's had.
And honestly, it's kind of neat because I think this movie came out just at the tail end of like the end of the kung fu movie thing in the 1980s.
Yeah, it probably did. It was 1988, I think. Deadpool was made.
Yeah, because that was right around the end of the kung fu movie craze in Hollywood. So it was kind of neat to see him get an Asian partner, and plus, it's San Francisco. There's going to be a lot of Asians. I mean, hey, down here in Tucson, we got a lot of Koreans and Vietnamese. They're actually pretty cool dudes, by the way. Throw some crazy ass good parties during the new year. But anyways, it's kind of a nice thing to see, and also the playoff between their two different cultures and different ways of doing things. With his Asian partner kind of having a bit more of a traditional family, and him trying to, skirt that line between a more modern Asian American and the more traditional, this is how we did shit back home on the mainland. And Dirty Harry just, kind of being dirty fucking Harry.
Well, yeah. Well, since you mentioned it, like his father and grandfather wrote the talisman tattoos on his body to protect him from harm. Al Quan actually wears a bulletproof vest. We find out way later that he did that to protect himself. And another one of his father's superstition: when your partner tells you something, do it to protect yourself. And all these different things. So yeah, it was great to see. Plus, I also mentioned in my review how Al Quan was like Harry in a lot of ways. He was side cracking him with jokes, being sarcastic and dryly sarcastic. They really worked well together. That's what I noticed when we watched this together this time. Al Quan and Harry Callahan really meshed well as partners.
Well, it's kind of neat too, because in a sense, I felt like it was, Harry having to basically put up with and train a slightly younger Asian version of himself. It was actually kind of a neat thing to watch. Because I did like that female partner he got in one of the last movies.
The enforcer,
yeah.
Kate.
But honestly, he bounced off really good with this one. Although I still think the African American partner from the first movie is still the king.
Oh no, that's the second one, Early Smith, because the first one was his Hispanic Latino partner, Chico Gonzalez.
Only this, well, you remember the line. But anyways, yeah, it was kind of neat to see. And of course, the kind of love interest / ally for this one is a female reporter who's kind of at the
Samantha Walker,
yeah, kind of at the beginning, a little mild, not completely naive as to the damage the media does, but at the same time, she's caught in a rock in a hard place. It's I mean, there's a great song by Don Henley, "Dirty Laundry," for those of you who remember. Used to be they used to have the video for that up on YouTube, and there was a great fan edit. But yeah, certain events in real life kind of got that shit struck down. But hey, it'll probably be like all those great musical access powers of Talia videos. 3 or 4 years from now, we'll probably see them again. Anyways, this also had another bunch of neat tie-ins. For instance, now we got this loud, obnoxious horror movie being made by auteur director Mr. Swan, with his, of course, problematic main star, the musical act. Oh, hello, Guns N' Roses. How's democracy in China working for you?
Well, not only that, Johnny Squares, who was also an actor / singer, who played by Jim Carrey of all people.
Riddle me this: how long until I die, Mr. Callahan?
5 minutes.
Oh, and it was a great one too, because having somebody, possibly a member of the set, sneak up on him from behind and basically force feed him a bunch of drugs for an overdose. Classic Hollywood.
Well, given that he was already on heroin too, as I mentioned in my review, because he was hurting. Peter Swan knew it, and even though they're all being jerks to each other, he goes back, takes heroin to get in the mood, and then while he's high off his ass, oh, I'm just gonna pour this crap down your throat, and oh, you're gonna basically, your heart's gonna give out or suffocate, whatever he did, because he basically died. Yeah, well, it looks like a painful death.
And I mean, again, this was like right towards the beginning of the end for like the DARE program, so kind of topical in that sense too. This is your brain. This is your brain on Dirty Harry. Any questions? But yeah, it was great to see Jim Carrey. And hey, if you're looking for another one of his early roles, Earth Girls Are Easy with Jeff Goldblum, which he made right after he got married to Gina Davis. Oh, and I think that also had Keaton Ivory Wayans from In Living Color in it as well. Anyways, yeah, we get our first kill, and oh, look at that. His name was on a list of people that are being speculated to die. And Dirty Harry's name is on that list, and he already survived, like, what, 2 different hardcore assassination attempts before this?
Yeah.
Like, they pulled some really crazy shit for this one, like stopping one car in front of his, having another car stop him from behind, and then try to go at it with some Tech 9s. I mean, yeesh. Of course, Dirty Harry is being this not being his first bullet rodeo. He just waits out the bullets, takes them out with some nice, clean, precise shots. No VATs needed on those.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we get like some other good Lord, the action scenes in this were great. But yeah, it's kind of a thing, like on the Deadpool list, we've already got the Riddler taken down. Somebody wants to go after Dirty Harry, and they start noticing all of these people seem to have a connection to the director,
Peter Swan, because yeah, it's his Deadpool list it's his list that he made where everybody's dying. So Harry Callahan's on the list. His production agent dies soon after. Johnny Squares, a critic who was critical of his movies, gets killed. So all these things start piling up, and it points to him.
Which I have to believe the killing of the critic might have been a reference to some of the more interesting threats Leonard Maltin used to get back in the day.
Yeah. One, like I said, for anyone who doesn't know, it's been widely known with the Deadpool right now that the critic that dies in the movie, Molly Fisher, she was a caricature of Pauline Kael, who was a very harsh critic of Clint Eastwood in all his movies, saying he was a violent filmmaker, violent actor, and his movies were just overall dumb. And it was a little vengeance on everyone who worked with Clint Eastwood as well as Clint Eastwood to do that in that film. So I'm like, sick sense of humor. You notice a lot of people don't do that now, but hey, back then when you didn't give a shit, why the hell not?
Well, and to be fair, a lot of critics were extra nasty to the point where even the crew of the 90s crew of Saturday Night Live basically wanted to track down a guy who lied to them, basically wrote one of the nastiest scathing reviews of them, and they were ready to fuck his shit up New York style, and Lorne Michaels, ironically, had to stop that. Probably the last good thing he ever did in his life, by the way. Anyways, yeah, we get to, and of course, aside from getting Jim Carrey to be the star of this, you have to have a nice accompanying musical act and music video. Enter Guns N' Roses. Oh, Mr. Axl the Rose. It's a damn good thing Mega Man X killed you in Mega Man X and Mega Man X5. I mean 3, sorry. And yes, no, not 3. God, what am I saying? It actually was, it was like 4 or 5. But anyways, yeah, Axl the Rose for the Maverick from Mega Man X. That was a caricature of Axl Rose, along with all the other Mavericks, because you got Duff McWhalen, Dizzy, whatever his name is. Yeah, they were all caricatures of Guns N' Roses. And for those of you who play Guilty Gear, you already know Axl Lowe is just Axl Rose. Except he's awesome and he's fun to use.
Yes.
And he's got better taste in music. And he's actually British. Okay, I'll stop now. Anyways, yeah, you got Guns N' Roses actually kind of acting like normal, sophisticated individuals for once. I mean, yeah, they kind of look like they belong in a Star Wars film, but they actually, they're actually behaving themselves and being good little boys. Like, seriously, how did they get Axl Rose to behave himself?
Wow,
I just want to know.
Probably paid him a lot of money. And like I said, during Johnny Square's funeral, Axl Rose is hidden behind the rest of the guys because I love how small he is. And I think he's hidden behind his brother or whoever Duff Rose was, his brother. And like, because there was the older guy he was behind, and then Slash was almost in front of him, and the other two guys are in center of him.
Yeah,
and Axl's like right behind there. You get another shot where you finally see him, but when you first see him, it's like hide him in the background.
I know people think, Slash was probably the troublemaker or the drummist. No. It was Axl Rose, and everybody knew it. I mean, that's kind of the funny thing. Like, everybody always gives shit to, like, Paul McCartney from the Beatles. It's like, true Beatles fans know he was not the worst. That was John Lennon.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, hey, he was living in the same apartment they filmed Rosemary's Baby in, so he has his father's eyes. But anyways, it was kind of cool to see Guns N' Roses back during better times. Briefly, we all know how that story ends. And the neat thing about this movie is we see some of the best detective work out of Dirty Harry in this. It's actually kind of neat that this was probably, if I remember, I think this was like the second most hated Dirty Harry movie because of some of the violence. And granted, some of the scenes were kind of like parodies of horror movies at the time, especially The Last Shots.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure Boku told you quite a bit about.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, hey, I liked playing Far Harbor and Fallout 4 and impaling people with harpoons myself. So there she blows. A white boy with a skin tone that reflects the sunlight. 'Tis Moby Dick. I mean, you do dumb shit like that when you play Fallout sometimes.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a neat thing to do. And also, it's just interesting to see how the dynamic between Dirty Harry and the reporter kind of builds over time. Both of them looking into the case, both of them getting caught into one of the best death traps they've tried to use on Dirty Harry in a while. I mean, that elevator scene was absolute nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you want to kill Dirty Harry, maybe ditch the Ingram Mac 10s and Tech 9s, because those are not exactly high accuracy weapons, I mean, trust us, Gray Fox 37 would probably lose his shit if he saw this movie.
Yeah.
But
he did, and I think he maybe did have some issues, if I remember. Could be wrong, but who knows?
But, I mean, it was kind of neat to see. And also, I have to admit, this might be one of my more favorite antagonists for a Dirty Harry film because, you might think, oh, it's cliche to have a obsessed schizophrenic fanboy who got jilted by director senpai to be the killer. but it works because there was a lot of that, and it did happen. I mean, a lot of that shit was. I mean, fuck. There's a reason why Stanley Kubrick has to avoid going back to England for the rest of his life, and not just because of the legal troubles.
Well, it was America, but yeah, because that's why he was living in England.
Well, England too. I mean, he got a lot of death threats back there as well.
Well, he don't need to worry about that because he's dead.
Yeah, well, let's just say that the good knifey justice of the British people wasn't what got him. Speaking of which, our lovely little concerned fan was imitating some of the scenes from the movie. I myself got my own Jason Voorhees special, and I just gotta say, you're doing some really amateur work there, motherfucker. I mean, that scene with the female critic, come on. It was only a matter of time before somebody was going to tie all these murders back to him because, I mean, he was basically reenacting the movies from the director, who, by the way, is Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yep, Liam Neeson is Peter Swan, who's an absolute delightful dickhead in this movie.
Oh, my God. I almost wonder if somebody met Russell Crowe and was like, I'm putting him in the film.
Well, if Russell Crowe was around that, because Russell Crowe, why do people forget this? One of his first movies was in '97 with that one mafia movie in California with him and Guy Pearce, where they both like started their careers out together. I forget what it is. It's I think it's Absolute Crime. Yeah, Absolute Crime. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, all the movies are parodies of like real life horror films. I mean, you got like your parody of. I think since they were going with like Hotel Hell, that's kind of like a parody of Psycho. They're also kind of parodying The Exorcist with like the scene where the animatronic's head was supposed to spin and then it overheats.
Cujo, Rosemary's Baby. So yeah, again, it was a movie within a movie, which is what also made this movie great to me. So
well, and yeah. I think it was brilliant. A brilliant little bit of what's it called? A brilliant little bit of sarcasm on Mr. Eastwood's part. You know, like the over exploitation of horror movies, the gratuitous violence, the negative effects those in the media were having. It was just a neat little commentary on the social issues of the time, the political and psychological mores of the 80s, and Clint Eastwood, you know, I know this is supposed to be an action movie, but it's actually a pretty good social critique, and even a little bit of even a little bit of a kind of like parody / biography of like the horror movies and cinema at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Liam Neeson just kills, pun intended, as this asshole director. And it's kind of neat too, because I mean, seeing like at first he's really standoffish with Harry Callahan, but over time, as the bodies start racking up and he starts noticing the same MO in the killings, he becomes a lot more cooperative.
Yeah,
for obvious reasons.
Well, when he tells him about the obsessed fan, you know, he says even I was unnerved by him, you know, because he was just like totally obsessed.
Well, yeah, because I mean, people forget the celebrity culture of the 1980s was insane. I mean, that was really the biggest escalation of that kind of thing society had ever seen. Heck, for those of you old enough to remember or have parents who have told you about it, in the 1980s, a crazy fan who was piloting a jet pretty much held up the guy in charge of Dallas because of the whole who shot JR thing. That was an actual thing. He refused to land the plane until he found out who shot J.R. Ewing. By the way, Dallas is a great show. Kudos to Larry Hagman up in heaven.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, the whole celebrity thing really got out of control at that time period.
Well, and then it continued on into the 90s. So, I mean, they really didn't get a handle on it till I think the late 90s, early 2000s.
And the fact that Clint Eastwood's kind of calling this out is, to me, makes him one of the most important directors. Honestly, a bit of a visionary.
Well, yeah. Well, and then, you know, with that media, I mean, a lot of stuff within the media is sort of like how they mention it now. Like, yeah, you get the story, but you can interfere with investigations, all these types of things. And I mean, it really was just how media has its place, whether in entertainment or in news, but there has to be a cautionary tale when you do this thing. And it's sort of like what the film sets up as a cautionary tale of When is it good?
Yeah.
When is it not good? And again, like you said, Samantha Walker, altogether not a bad person, but what she was doing with Johnny Square's girlfriend, having the camera right in her face, asking her about that, was sort of like what. Don't mean to go to WWE in the 90s here, guys, but if you guys remember 96, 97, when Brian Pillman passed away, that was like with Vince McMahon giving the interview to Brian Pillman's fiance, asking him, how do you feel when, that he's dead? And he had just died, and she's like tearing up, and that's how Johnny Square's girlfriend was. And granted, Harry probably didn't handle it the best way, but I don't think none of us could blame him when he got in front of Samantha Walker and her cameraman took the camera and said, give these people some peace, and just chucked the camera and broke it.
Well, and again, it takes me back to like one of our early reviews of Bonnie and Clyde, the glorification of the death of these criminals,
or the highwaymen more specifically.
Yeah, the highwaymen. And also again to like Marilyn Monroe, because his girlfriend was a beautiful platinum blonde. And well, let's be honest, I mean, we all know how the media reacted during that death. And it really, again, also reminds me of the O.J. Simpson thing with like the controversy and basically just the absolute glorification of death in media. I mean, it really kind of, to me, brings into stark reality why we had that whole fucking Slender Man and his proxies thing in like 2015, which, by the way, was just insufferable on the internet.
Well, it was. Plus, there were several other things too. Plus, Slender Man really did give birth to. Some of them are good. I'm not a fan of every one of them, but Slender Man also gave birth to the wide. What we have now is the creepypasta.
Yeah.
And some of them are good. Some of them are well thought out horror movie stories or things like that, or just stories in general. But yeah, some of them are like, okay, this is being done to death now.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, funny how this is about a horror movie director who sort of rips off or takes from other horror movies, where what's the genre we've all noticed again that we've all said needs to cool it a little bit? Horror movies, because yeah, there's still some great horror movies out there. We've seen it from better directors and better writers, but
like
a lot of tropes have been overdone, and I'm like, yeah, we need to not see any of that for I think a few years.
Yeah, like I liked the Marble Hornets. I hated it when they became proxies. I'll just be 100% upfront about that, and I hate Jeff the Killer. Get that gay ass shit off my screen. But anyways, yeah, it's kind of neat how Clint Eastwood goes out of his way to basically just call out how this kind of forms like a Mobius loop. How the media frenzy feeds into the killings, feeds into more media frenzy, feeds into more violence. It's just, it really, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting too old, but it's just like, it kind of really makes you stop and think. It's like, yeah, I could probably do without some TV and cable television for a good long while.
Well, we both are, because look how, we've had our best friend Zombie call me out on it a few times where I've been way too jaded, and even my friend Thunder Darkstone has called me out to being a little jaded on film, but yet they understand where I'm coming from, because you and I have these passions, and even though our passions differ, we don't like every single thing the same, but we understand what good film, good things, and like my mom keeps saying this, like how this also focuses on the news. When you did the news, you just reported it. You didn't go out to find the story at any length, at any cost. And obviously, with what happens to Samantha Walker near the end and other characters, put yourself in danger, all these different types of things, and all these grand things that take place in this film, because again, yes, it's a danger, and it also, like, there's the hilarious thing about it too is, the price of fame. Is it good to be famous and have some of these weirdos around you? And obviously, no, it's not. But again, white they say with which, since you already brought him up, the villain's name in this is Harlan Rook, who really believed he was Peter Swan. That's how bad his schizophrenia got. He replaced his personality in thinking he was Peter Swan. And he like tells Samantha Walker when he kidnaps her, oh, he got into my head and he stole my ideas. And again, this is why some people got restraining orders against people like this, because people sometimes were that bizarre thinking they were these people. I mean, heck, we all thought it was hilarious. Like, take Big Bang Theory, where Sheldon Cooper's obsession with Leonard Nimoy and Spock was great, but like we say, how big was his fandom? And I don't think he ever would have done it because Sheldon Cooper did have some morals in him. Some, they were hard to get out of his eccentric mind because, again, that brilliant, eccentric, deadpan mind of his was always in control. But like, if you guys remember in season 2, when he gets the napkin that like Leonard Nimoy wiped his mouth with it, it's like he was already in shock that Penny gave him the thing, and it's like, wait, I possess the thing of Leonard Nimoy, the DNA. But yeah, he signed it, Sheldon. Look at it. You don't understand. I have the DNA of Leonard Nimoy. All I need is a healthy ovum, and I can grow my own very Leonard Nimoy. I mean, the fact that someone like him would say that is an obsessed fan. And I mean, again, he also got a restraining order, we learned in later years of the show, for Leonard Nimoy, Stanley, and a few other characters. And I think William Shatner was the other one.
That reminds me of the character of Nakajima, I think it is, from Borderlands, where he's basically such an obsessed, handsome Jack fanboy. He creates an AI intelligence and then wants to create a clone body. I could make an AI thing and stick the AI thing in a clone thing, and then, oh, I'm so brilliant, Jack.
Well, and you mentioned that, but I will mention, Hawk's still outside?
I think so.
All right, we'll get him in a minute. Sorry, folks, about that, but I'll mention it too because I don't want to get political here in this, and I'm pretty sure Jherick don't either. I mean, I know Jherick sort of always beats me to the punch, but these days, just as a little side note here, because it seems like we're getting to the end of this, to a little side note, these days, it's the actors attacking the fans, and the actors who are losing their absolute minds and being the toxic ones. Not so much the fans. There are still toxic fandom out there for sure, but the actors were equally losing their minds.
Well, considering
jumping into politics of the real life arena, which they shouldn't.
Considering what the actors have done to some of our favorite franchises, what few fans are left.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm just bringing it up here really quick, because what this film represents is sort of in the reverse now.
Yeah. And it's kind of neat too, because I think in a sense this movie is also kind of spoofing a Madonna movie from that time period, Desperately Seeking Susan, which was kind of the same thing. Fan loses her shit, thinks she's Madonna. It's actually a pretty clever movie for a Madonna film. I'm not gonna lie, it's perhaps one of her best, believe it or not. But yeah, this had a lot of great moments in it, and plus you get nice shots of San Francisco during better times. But it's a very interesting movie. I'd even say, despite a lot of the action and violence, it might even be perhaps the single smartest Dirty Harry movie I've ever seen. And I know people think Dirty Harry movies can't be that smart. It's like some of the best detective work I've seen in movies have been in Dirty Harry films.
Well, again, back when you had not only action cop films, but you had the detective work still being there. It wasn't all just boom, 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 boom.
And actually getting to see the processes. I mean, I know it's not everybody's thing to see that kind of thing. I love it, okay?
Because, again, the Dirty Harry franchise, shout out to you, Gray Fox, French Connection, the 7-Ups, Bullet. And I admit, Bullet's plot can be a little confusing, but now that I understand what Bullet was about, the criminal wanted to give himself up to the mafia. Well, not give himself up to the mafia, but wanted to, narc on the mafia. But, I'm still going to go to prison, so I'm going to run, kill a bunch of people so I don't have to go. And that's the whole thing of what starts Bullet, is the guy who was going to narc on the mafia was still going to run, and he wanted to kill anyone who knew of him so he could get free. So I'm like, so that's why that movie and why they killed that guy, because he was going to tell on the mafia, but he also didn't want to accept any of his part in his responsibilities to say, you're still going to go to jail. Man, how that's changed too. But well, we're not going to open that can of worms yet. Maybe we will when we get to Bullet. But not
then there's perhaps my favorite part of the movie. This ending was absolutely the best. Well, maybe my second favorite part. My favorite part was how there's a scene where a guy wants attention, so he's threatening to light himself on fire. And Harry Callahan and the reporter, they basically get him to stop in the most brilliant way possible by saying, no, we're not going to film this. No one's going to see what you're going to do. We're not giving you that out.
Well, yeah,
and it was wonderful because that's exactly how it should be handled.
Well, because he pretended to be the Deadpool killer, and he tells Samantha Walker and Harry, who's disguised as her cameraman, so she can be protected. That he just said he did those things to get attention. Oh, Gus Wheeler, that's what the guy's name was. He wanted attention, and she's like, "No, Mr. Wheeler, I have morals too, and I'm not going to let people see your suicide on national and or either bigger television." And that's when Harry's like, okay, this lady is not just all about the doom and gloom. She does have some standards.
Yeah,
and that's what earns his respect for her, really.
And it kind of reminds me of something similar to that in the movie Chicago with Richard Gere, where that lady, yeah, she did kill that first guy, but then she's like riding the wave of being the famous, killer queen or whatever they called her. And honestly, to me, this is like one of the best maybe even one of the greatest Clint Eastwood movies of all time, just because of how, I mean, you go in expecting an action film, you come out thinking to yourself, that gave me a lot more to think about than I was expecting.
Well, just wait because I know you haven't seen every Clint Eastwood film yet, since I'm very close. Just wait till you see some of the ones you've not seen, Jherick. There may be a few that may change your opinion, but damn, Clint Eastwood is definitely a GOAT. He's up there. I know some people say he's controversial, but hey, we mentioned Kubrick, so was David Lynch. So bring on the controversy.
And arguably my second favorite part, the end, how he gets the bad guy. This I have to believe was Dirty Harry clowning on Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. Because that scene where they're in that industrial area and he's like, him and the girl are hiding in the smoke, basically dodging him, making noises to distract him, was like, oh my God, somebody's a fan of Robert Englund.
Yeah.
Or Freddie, but yeah, it was great how they handled this because, of course, it's like, because of course he gets the reporter lady away from him with his trickery. And it's like, no, drop the gun, kick it over to me. So he's got the gun and he's thinking he's got Dirty Harry beaten. He's missing his shots because he's a fucking moron.
And I counted it because Harry used one bullet on the radio, and then Harlan Rook still had 5. Harlan Rook shoots all 5 and doesn't shoot an extra bullet out of there. Like so many people want to call out these Dirty Harry films. It's like, I've counted it in the first movie. I've counted it in this movie. I think I've counted it in a few others. 6.
And it's
accurate.
And it's a great moment because you forget something, kid. You're out of bullets. And then he's got the harpoon gun and it's like, do it.
Yeah. And he's like, I have a message for you. And you're shit out of luck.
Yeah. And he does the perfect callback to the first movie.
And what I still love is like Harlan Rook isn't there, but I still like how he's about to point the gun to shoot him, and then I love how after he skewers him on the wall, picks up the gun and just clicks it, nothing comes out. He's like, he told you you were out of bullets.
Fatality. BioShock DLC.
Well then, hey, I say that's a good thing to put it there. Well then, who were your? I basically said almost everybody in here was a favorite character. Did you have a particular favorite character in this that stood out to you, Jherick? Because I pretty much like everybody because it's a short cast or main character cast at least, and I liked all the main characters in this movie.
Well, strangely enough, for me, top honors are going to Qui-Gon Jinn himself. He played a brilliant asshole.
Yeah, Liam Neeson again, Peter Swan. Yeah.
But I mean, hey, maybe that's where Anakin gets it from.
Oh, God.
Also, the lady who played Mrs. Walker is a very strong second.
Patricia Clarkson, yeah.
Especially in the scene where they talk down the guy who wants to light himself on fire. Excellent work. And, of course, I have to give third place to Mr. Callahan himself, Mr. Eastwood.
Yeah.
My hat's off to you, good sir. This was brilliant, and let no one tell you otherwise.
Yeah. Well, again, to that point, because I know you basically gave your whole thing about what you liked about this movie, so I won't let you have the usual final thoughts because I'm pretty sure you gave us all your final thoughts. But I also did this too. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same of what you said. But since we've now reviewed all these and we've seen all these together, what is your favorite Dirty Harry film out of the five?
I have to say Deadpool #1, Magnum Force #2.
Yeah.
And the Enforcer #3.
Ooh, well, hey, you're actually one who see you really. I think you told me that before, so you really did like The Enforcer, huh?
Oh,
Because
great movie.
that's my least favorite out of the whole bunch. Because it was good, but it sort of felt a little weak. But no, I understand why you liked it. And like I said, I think you really took a shine to the female partner. That I I like her a bit more than I used to. But a lot of people say like the reason they couldn't like the Enforcer is there's a lot of people who could not stand his partner Kate, who was played by Tyne Daly. But she's Tyne Daly's character Kate has grown on me. My thing, the reason why, and I mentioned in the review why the Enforcer is my last favorite is it's because I thought the villains, the hippie guys, and I know that's not what Bobby Maxwell was doing. I thought they were a little weak, and that was sort of the reason why. But it's still a great movie, good to be in the saga overall. And I used to say Sudden Impact was not very high, but I've liked that one because I like how it's the darkest of the Clint Eastwood films. It's a person getting revenge. And yes, people, yes, Harry should have done his job and arrested Sandra Lark's character probably at the end because she did take justice into her own hands and murdered people. But considering what she went through, we could see why Dirty Harry didn't, or Harry Callahan didn't turn her in because her sister, everything they went through was enough. Plus, here's the thing. She killed all those other guys, and their deaths, you could say, when you look at them, were deserved. But she didn't kill the chief's son. She didn't kill the chief. That was not Ray, but whatever the main guy, that crazy dude's name was in that one. Who, yeah, he got a brutal death, but again deserved because killed Harry's partner and tried to rape her again and do all these and killed the chief. So, after the chief had a turn of heart and didn't want to support him anymore, he murdered him with her own gun. And, so yeah, but I mean, it used to be that one too, but I have a lot of respect for that one. It's funny when a lot of reviews on these movies can change when you rewatch them. But like I said, so I can respect that because I do know there are a lot of people who like The Enforcer. Believe it or not, I'll say here in a quick side note, there's a lot of people who don't like your second favorite and because Deadpool's my dark horse favorite, as I said. It's like just right below like two, almost a tie for one, but Magnum Force at one. There's a lot of people who don't like my first and your second, Magnum Force, because look at the cops, what they're doing in this movie. But again, just like with Boondock Saints and a few other films, what happens when you take this too far and put justice into your own hands?
Well, and I think I now realize a bit of a reason why I've always liked what's it called, The Enforcer, as much as I do.
Oh, why?
I think the whole hippie thing with like the Law Rockets, I think that's a bit of a clever homage to the Weather Underground.
Oh, yeah.
For those of you who know about the Weather Underground and what they wanted to do. So if that was Mr. Eastwood, again, this man needs more movies.
I can't remember completely, but I do think there is a mention to them about that. And that's how I think it was partially written by Clint Eastwood and another writer. But no, they they had those types of things that were like that, and it works. But no, I mean, overall, yeah, the Deadpool is a great movie. Jherick likes it. I really like it. I know for a lot of fans, it's last on the list because people say, they were just stretching for plot points and it was just stupid. But it was actually, again, a clever, fun movie, a great movie for Clint Eastwood to go out with. Now, it wasn't as heavy search as, the first one or second movie was, but again, Dirty Harry, the first one, and Magnum Force, absolute classics. And all the other ones have their place in the history too, so I can't hate on them completely either. But the first two, in my opinion, are immortalized all the way up here, and then the rest are just right below it, but equally on that tier. So again, I told people, no matter which Dirty Harry film you need, we need more films like this. In fact, I think it's when we went to the theater and we saw French Connection, when we all went and saw that with Patrick and Jesse, when we were all still hanging out together. And, it was like, what was it? Oh, yeah, that we were all in agreement. We need more films like this where we appreciate what the cops do and not just, they're cops, hate on them. No, these people do protect and serve. Not everyone is a crooked cop, but there are crooked cops. And there are ones wanting to do right, and how far does this go? And that's the thing. Sometimes this stuff goes pretty deep down the rabbit hole. But again, those are my thoughts, and you've definitely heard Jherick's.
And by the way, kiddos, there's a game on Steam. I forget the exact name of it, but it's kind of a touching homage to those old classic action stars. It's kind of similar to like Sunset Riders, but it's more like a 70s action film where one of the characters is based on Dirty Harry, one of them is based on Charles Bronson's Death Wish, one of them is James Bond, and the other one is Foxy Brown.
Yeah. Oh, well, since you mentioned that, before we go here, I also got to mention, if you guys want a nod to Clint Eastwood, the Boo saga, Dragon Ball Z, when Boo is still Boo before he becomes Super Boo or Evil Boo. Yeah, Clint Eastwood is seen there with Bobbity and Boo with a bunch of other cops in his 44 Magnum shooting at Boo. Why he has a smile on his face though is beyond me. But that one was the greatest, as well as saying Colonel Sanders, I think, in that same episode for whatever stupid reason. But that was Akira Toriyama's trademark. He loved a lot of Western culture, and he put a lot of Western culture into his stuff. So again, same thing with Katsuhiro Otomo, because again, we have probably mentioned this when we get to Akira, but the reason why Tetsuo in the manga and in the anime use the orangish red cape nod to Superman, even though it was done in a perverse way.
Well, and plus, Colonel Sanders also showed up in what's it called, Higurashi, the first episode too.
Oh, I've never seen the first episode of Higurashi, so I never got to see that.
Oh,
that's funny though.
I have such wonderful Hinamizawas to show you.
Well, of course, when don't you? but anyway, these are our thoughts. What are your guys's? Like I said yesterday, put them down below. Want to see how we're doing. And again, thank you guys who have subscribed recently. And I've noticed some of our recent videos have been getting a bit more views. So thank you guys for that. Like I said, I don't care if it's a massive wave or if it grows a little bit over the time, even over the years. I appreciate you guys looking at my channel, looking at what I share here with Jherick, giving us the time of day and the time. Because again, I wish I could be more pizzazz for you guys, but right now, I don't mind just being, plain Jane and just talking about this. Because again, a lot of these videos, like we say, they're listened to. Sometimes you don't need all the pizzazz. And I've noticed even for me, when there's a lot with stuff going on, I'm always going back to try to see what I missed. But when you just can listen, sometimes it's great. And I hope mine and Jherick's voices aren't that bad for you. But either way, this is 012 Boku and
Slightly Idiotic Podcast. I'm just fucking with you. I'm Jherick.
All right. Well, we are idiotic. Oh, but anyway, we'll see you guys again later, right? See ya.
Deuces. Oh, my shoulders.